Brit in India is feeling the same taboo, which a lot of people actually don't talk about it.
Having grown up in the UK, basically not wearing a bra after work was probably like the most exciting thing to look forward to towards after finishing work. And so it just became really like an everyday problem for me that, you know, every day I was thinking about how I would need to cover up as soon as I got home. And I just thought, is this normally accepted in this culture? And that's kind of how it started. Like, I just couldn't believe that, you know, women were struggling in that pain in their own homes.
Welcome to the Collaborative Canvas, where we dive into the inspiring journeys of innovators, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders reshaping the industry. Today, we have a very special guest, Zixuan Singh Sareen, the founder and CEO of Lootee, the Braless t-shirt company. Lootee offers a revolutionizing solution for women, pain-free and sweat-free t-shirts, with its built-in coverage and creating a comfortable and modest alternative to traditional bras. Zish's entrepreneurial journey begins when she faced challenges finding the modest and comfortable coverage option after moving to India and living in a joint family setup. Recognizing a gap in the market, she's not only created a product, but a brand that resonated deeply with women seeking freedom and comfort. In addition to her role at Lootee, she's a partner at Comet Techno Legal LLP. Welcome, Zish.
Thank you for having me, Ankesh.
So when I first actually met you at the D2C summit, I was pretty inspired by the thought that a Brit in India is feeling the same taboo, which a lot of people actually don't talk about it.
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Zish. I grew up in the UK, though I'm ethnically Chinese, but I actually moved here because my husband is Indian and we met in the UK and he always wanted to move back. So kind of like what you said about how, how could someone who didn't grow up in India kind of face the same challenges? And I think that was kind of the key thing to the business. It was because I moved into my husband's joint family, I think there's so much acceptance in the discomfort of wearing bras that people almost don't realize it's a problem. Having grown up in the UK, basically not wearing a bra after work was probably like the most exciting thing to look forward to towards after finishing work. And I kind of completely missed out on that after moving into such a big family. There's 11 family members in my house. So, you know, my husband's parents, sister, chachi, daddy, all of their kids. And living with so many people, I just wasn't able to find a pain-free solution that, you know, bras are just not comfortable. And so it just became really like an everyday problem for me that, you know, every day I was thinking about how I would need to cover up as soon as I got home. And the worst part was that I had asked my chachi, like, okay, you know, do you have some alternative suggestions? Because you'll often find a lot of women, when they share their homes, they'll just maybe put like a scarf on or a shawl on. But even in the heat of the summer. And she basically told me, well, all of us just wear our bra until the minute we go to sleep. And sometimes we even sleep in our bras. And I just thought, is this normally accepted in this culture? And that's kind of how it started. Like, I just couldn't believe that, you know, women were struggling in that pain in their own homes.
And was it easy to convince your, the joint family members to start something like that?
Oh, absolutely not. I think, you know, any Asian family, they're very risk adverse. And when I told them about this problem, because there's such a taboo about even the topic of it, they were kind of like, you know, why would you want to do that? You know, is it really a problem? But you know, I think that's the funny thing. When I started, all the women that I spoke to, especially the people in my family, they were very much like, this is not a problem. But once they saw the solution, because, you know, when you first give them the idea, you kind of talk about it holistically. After showing them the solution, they were like, oh, actually, like, this is really cool. And this is something that we would wear.
And considering that, your family came up with so basically you started this brand considering that you were facing some issues. When you actually come up with that idea, and considering, your demographic split was within your household.
Right.
Did you actually go out and did some research, understand consumer from their perspective?
Yeah. So when I started this project, it was very much just, hey, I hate the pain of wearing a bra. And obviously there are other solutions to covering up without wearing a bra. So you have things like tape covers and like, sticky covers, sticky tape, all of those things that help you stay modest. But again, none of them are pain-free or sweat-free, or, they're somehow painful in some way. And also, yeah, the most common way people cover up is just using that scarf. And I absolutely went to all the women in my life and I said, like, hey, well, imagine this top that doesn't have a strap and it is pain-free. But I think, the feedback was very much like, hey, I don't see this as being a potential, business or solution, because it's just so unfathomable that there could be a solution like that, because we haven't seen it in the world.
But considering that there's already a gap that you identified and there's a taboo about it, and then there's certain notions that Indian women actually go with, specifically a certain gentry, the
Yeah.
metropolitan people would probably prefer that. Somebody who's living alone can still prefer that, who agreed to this point that, this t-shirt, braless t-shirt would definitely be something that I would love to go with.
So I think that only came after I started producing the product. It wasn't before the product was in existence, because it was just so hard to explain the concept in a big picture form, because it just didn't really make sense how it could possibly work. But once they saw the product, they could see that, oh, actually there is no tightness or no pain. And then they were very quickly converted, including the older people who I kind of thought would never convert in this industry.
I think the fact is that your t-shirt is a braless t-shirt, but nowadays I see a lot of, Gen Zs or, millennials as well. They're wearing long t-shirts, the oversized t-shirt. How
Right.
it is different from,
Yeah.
because they're very thick as well.
Yes. Okay. So I think I want to go back to the term braless t-shirt. I think there's a lot of brands out there who are marketing their products as braless, but it's actually really just a bra sewn into stickiness of the product. So any tops which are currently being branded as braless, they're all required for them to be worn tight against the skin. But the innovation of my product is that you can actually wear it loose. You can wear an oversized t-shirt, which is what a lot of people are buying. They're buying a very big t-shirt for their size, and like it looks, seamless. No one would be able to tell that you're not wearing a bra, but you would be basically covered up.
And you did another research.
Yeah.
So what were those other strategies where you wanted to actually, have a loyal customer base?
Yes. So
Because t-shirt is not just, I bought one and then I'm free.
right.
I
Yeah.
will probably buy more other colors.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So what I often see is a lot of customers, they're apprehensive about trying the product first. But I think what has created this brand loyalty is that customer experience. So I focused a lot about, the story, and it's a story that a lot of women can relate to, that kind of discomfort while being in your own home, and then really honed in on that. And, the whole packaging experience is kind of sensory, like there's some touch parts, smell parts, sound parts, all parts of it kind of elevate that experience. And in doing that, what has happened is a lot of customers, that they actually give me a lot of feedback, and they even write to me and say, well, I'm only giving you feedback because I really enjoy the experience, and like I saw that you're a small business, all of these things. So that has really helped create that brand loyalty. And once they enjoy the first product, they will come back. Also, the other thing I would say is that I've done a lot of feedback. So, maybe the first 50 to 100 customers, they were just giving me feedback. And at the time I would take it as like, oh my gosh, I've done something wrong. But what it has really helped me do is really improve the product and create something that, people really like. And they like the fact that I've come back to them and said like, hey, actually, I can actually improve this product for you, because I myself am still iterating, prototyping, creating the perfected product. And I think that has really helped create that brand loyalty.
And considering that you have been selling this through e-commerce website and other, digital marketing, which are more influenced in the nature, where those plans and strategies fall into play? To add this, I really wanted to understand which all regions you have actually covered during the entire 5 year, I think it's been.
No, it's been about full time, I'd say about a year. I currently only sell directly on my website. That was actually quite intentional, because for a new product like this, there isn't a standard. Like I couldn't go to a manufacturer and say, hey, well, just make it for me, because there's no standard for how this product should be made. I'm the one who's created and developed the product. And so in terms of e-commerce, I really wanted to direct all of those sales through my website. I've been using meta ads like Instagram and Facebook, and just making sure that the people who are buying my product, they kind of understood what exactly the product is about. Because, if someone is buying my product and they expect support, which it doesn't provide because it only provides coverage, it's not the right product for them. And through doing that, I've been able to kind of iterate, and it is through the power of social media.
So you're covering entire India at the moment?
Yes, it's right now I'm selling only in India because I kind of feel like India is that key market that really values modesty so much. I think in the West, it's not something that we care so much about, which is, exactly why I started. It wasn't really a problem for me when I grew up in the UK.
Yeah. Considering, there've been multiple challenges. You spoke to so many people. You actually went out and again talked to so many other, female audiences to get to a conclusion that you really wanted to start Lootee brand. What are the major challenges that holded you for, so probably you started a year ago? Before
Yes.
that you've been into a planning stage, ideation stage. What were those challenges that holded you back?
One of the biggest challenges, I think, is finding the right people to work with. I think because as someone who didn't grow up here, finding the right vendors, because I think typically you might have that network of people that you'd say, oh, well, if I want to do something, maybe there's someone who can help me out with that. But for me, I found a lot of my vendors just like on the internet, basically. And the first call I had with them, they'd be like, where did you get my number? Because I think that's not a typical way people work here. I think one of the other biggest challenges is definitely iterating on the standard of the product. That was the biggest challenge in perfecting the product because no one else has made it before. There's kind of like no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
And you can only improve the product with data. So as I got more and more sales, I could then figure out, okay, hey, this is what's working for people. This is not what's working for people. What can I improve on? And then also kind of balancing that with the finances, because as a small business, you don't have endless money. So a lot of the times people will say, well, why don't you just hire someone to do all your marketing? And I thought, I really don't have the money to do that. And I've made every post, every reel. I've done all the ads myself.
Sailing the same boat with you on this, when you start a business, it is all about bootstrapping. You have to put every single penny that you have into the business, and going magnitude on promotions and building a base with marketing, it's not that easy. So considering that I've seen your websites, I've seen the Instagram handle as well, I see mostly those t-shirts are there. Do you plan to create a product line out of it?
Yes. So originally the idea was we thought people would only want this product in the evenings because they're already used to wearing a bra in the day. So we actually started off with pajama sets. In the last year, what we've done is actually just done a basic colors range of t-shirts. And the innovation is on the fact that it can be worn tight and loose, but look seamless. And definitely the next part of our plan is to do all kinds of designs, right? Because the innovation can be put in any kind of clothing. It could be a top, it could be a dress. So I think the next thing we're going to do is actually kind of like short sleeves, long sleeve, loose, basically any combination of that. But again, there's always restrictions as a small business on what you can actually realistically achieve.
Last but not the least, so when you started, you had a product in mind because you were facing a problem. You found that gap and you started up. What advice would you give to the aspiring entrepreneurs into the D2C brand? Because the first and foremost, I would really appreciate the fact that you actually reached out to people for your customer loyalty base and asked for their feedbacks, and you continuously improved yourself on those feedbacks. I think that's the most sought out strategy any D2C brands can have. But still, talking about the customer experience, I wanted to know, what is your advice for them?
I think anyone who's kind of starting out in this D2C space, I think you just have to just start. I think there's a lot of kind of apprehension about how to do it. And the reality is that you don't actually have it all figured out, and you have to kind of try it as you go along. And when we talk about customer feedback, I believe that, in such a saturated market, yes, there is a billion people here and people are buying all kinds of things, but I think there's not so much of that brand loyalty anymore because it's so saturated. Like if you go on Instagram, like the number of reels you see, the number of companies that you're going across, like, can you realistically remember everyone's name? And I think what is really kind of helping create that niche, I think it's two things. One of them is the customer experience. You know, how do they experience your brand? Because I think most likely if you have 10 good experiences with a brand, but you know, one experience is really bad, that's kind of the one you remember and tell your friends. And I think it's kind of good to try and fix those problems. And that's how people then remember you, like, oh, well, you know, something went wrong, but actually they did a really good job of fixing it. The second thing is, I think, creating a niche. So I think what's worked really well for me is that, you know, often, like, India is a very price sensitive market. And often a lot of people will say to me, you know, no matter whether they can afford my products or not, they'll say to me, hey, the pricing is really high, even when I've slashed my prices for some promotion, right? So it's a very price sensitive market. And what has really helped me is creating that niche. So, you know, my background is in patents, and one of the first things I did was patent my technology, because that is what sets me apart. And so having that kind of monopoly and deciding, you know, for myself, and also how other brands can do or not do the same thing as me, it really helps me kind of not worry about, oh, if other people are going to copy me or going to do similar things, because I have that legal protection.
Got it. I think, yes, I mean, one is definitely a price sensitive market, and then creating yourself as a premium brand definitely needs, you know, a lot of strategies.
So that's the thing. I think definitely we are a premium brand right now. There's no denying that
Of
when it
course.
comes to the price point. But that is also part of being a small business. Like, I really want this to be an everyday brand, but from a business standpoint, when you don't have leverage with the manufacturers on like quantities, or like, you know, like, I was lucky for someone to even want to work with me with the small quantities that I wanted to do. And at the start, I worked with an individual tailor, because literally the first order that I did, my first beta run, I ordered 100 shirts. And which manufacturer is going to bother their time making 100 t-shirts
Yeah,
for
that's
me?
a very small quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like kind of like a balance, right? Like, as much as I want to run a, you know, brand that everyone can buy and afford, it's so hard from a business perspective. And those are kind of the things you have to balance when you're doing something.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. From understanding the preferences that one individual faced on herself, and then barring that taboo that generally Indian women face, Zish has found a way out. And if you love the story and you wanted to connect with her to understand how this brand evolved, and you wanted to be part of her journey, feel free to connect with her through her website. And moreover, if you like this episode, then don't please forget to subscribe, because we work hard to get you those stories out as much as possible. And we always, you know, look forward to get those inspiring leaders who are shaping the industry in one way or the other. So if you love it, please subscribe, share it with people who really wanted to hear more about these conversations, and do comment. Sometimes we love your comments, and sometimes it actually helps us improve on the content that we bring to you. Thank you so much, Jesh. That was such a inspiring conversations we had.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.